We've now reached the peak, the summit, the pinnacle of season 12 Doctor Who, and in this episode, The Haunting of Villa Diodati, the Doctor and her crew go back in time to 1816. Yes, it's another episode set on Earth. It feels very Earth-centric this series. Very centered around Earth and different historical periods on Earth. And personally, I would like to see some more alien planets, some more alien races, rather than just the ones that invade Earth. But that's just a personal grievance. This episode, they go back, as we saw last week. They were going to go back and they were going to witness the moment that Mary Shelley was inspired to write Frankenstein, which is one of the greatest horror novels of all time. It's up there with Dracula. It's one of the greatest horror novels ever. So they go back in time and they attempt to witness that moment. And in the process, they discover a house with seemingly endless corridors where you just go around in circles and you can't actually leave. There's some strange goings on, pottery's flying about the place, there's distorted figures appearing in the doorways. It all seems very haunted. Graham even sees a couple of ghosts. There's a character that sleepwalks through walls. It's all very spooky. It's all very ghost, all very haunted, if you will. And it feels like a very horror-centric episode. Until that reveal. The one that has been predicted all throughout the season, the one that Captain Jack warned us about. You know what I'm talking about. It's the lone Cyberman. He turns up. He emerges, and it turns out that he's hunting something called the Cyberium, and this is the very thing that Captain Jack said to Yaz, Brian, and Graham. Do not give the lone Cyberman what it wants at any cost. So obviously, it seems to me that Captain Jack has come back from the last great cyber war, and he's obviously witnessed the destruction of the human race, and he's trying to save the human race by preventing this lone Cyberman from getting his hands on this Cyberium. And of course, this Cyberium, it transpires, has been sent back through time by quite possibly the human resistance. Sent back through time to 1816 to protect the human race and to change the future of the human race. And this lone Cyberman has chased him through time and he wants it. The Doctor obviously struggles with the idea of giving this lone Cyberman what he wants, despite Jack's warning. And then there comes a choice, and this is where we see the Dark Doctor, the dark side of the Doctor that we haven't seen yet in this iteration in 13. The Doctor that has to choose, and she explicitly says in one of her greatest speeches in her run, I'd say she's had a few good speeches this season, but in one of her greatest speeches in the whole run, she says this team, this TARDIS crew, is not flat level. It's a mountain, and I'm at the summit. I'm on my own, and I've got to make the choices, the difficult choices. The choice she faces is to save one person and doom millions, or to kill one person and save millions. And it's Brian who points out the obvious choice, who says, let him die, and we can save billions of people. And Doctor launches into a tirade about, if you want to sacrifice yourself, if you want me to give up you, because if I save this one person, it will change the course of history. Of course, I'm not going to tell you who that person is if you haven't seen the episode. If you have seen the episode, you know. If you haven't seen the episode, go and watch it, because I don't want to spoil too much. I've already sort of spoiled the lone Cyberman warning for you guys. But she says, if I kill this person had an influence on history. If I killed this person, your reality, your world that you grew up in, Brian, it will not exist. You will cease to exist. Graham will cease to exist. Yaz will cease to exist. You're asking me to completely save one person and rewrite history, or let that person die and condemn billions to a life under Cyberman rule. Now, if you don't know Classic Who, that was the origin of the Cybermen. They were a race that went to war with the humans in the distant future, ultimately won, and humanity was all but erased in the wake of this Cyberman invasion. It's all very Terminator, this episode. It's all very back through time, save humanity type thing. And I'm half expecting John Connor to turn up. Now, grievances with this episode, like many of the episodes, the Doctor overuses the Sonic. And I mean, this is the Doctor. Sonic is there, yes, it's helpful sometimes. But the Doctor is meant to be able to figure things out on her own. She's meant to be able to lick, sniff, scratch, listen, do whatever weird shit the Doctor does. They've all done it in their time. Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi. They all had their little quirky habits, and they all sort of knew things without having to resort to the Sonic excessively. And this Doctor seems to want to always bust out the Sonic. Throughout this season and season 11, the Sonic was so commonly used, and it was written out at one point in Classic Who in the 80s because it was too useful, and it was just driving down the plot. And I think that's what's slightly happening here. So I'm hoping for the closing two-part of this season that the Sonic gets put away a little bit, and the Doctor starts using her, because we're seeing more and more of this Doctor, more and more of her layered personality, and I'm loving it. I'm loving that we're seeing the darker side to her personality. I'm loving the fact that she's confronting people now outwardly. She's being passionate about things now, rather than season 11 where things were just happening around her. She's actually getting involved. She's taking action. She's actually showing some emotion, actually, rather than just happy, clappy sunshine and rainbows. She's showing some difficulty, struggling with these choices that she has to make. The villain, the Lone Cyberman, is sort of quasi-human. He is very good, very villainous. There is some issues with the pacing in this episode. Like, for instance, there's a scene where Cyberman takes a baby out of a cot, and then the next scene he's just sweeping something off of the table, and it's like, well, what did you do with that baby? Was there something that was left in the production studio? Did I miss something? What? And the baby is just sort of forgotten about for a couple of scenes. So the pacing is a bit staggered a little bit. Twice in the episode they split up into groups and go about their different ways, and it makes it kind of hard to keep up with what's going on. So it was a bit jittery, the pacing, but overall it was a good episode, much better than a lot of the season. This season overall has been very good. I'm hoping for more of the Dark Doctor in the closing two episodes. I'm starting to worry about the companions, because at the end of this episode they seem very conflicted about, is this what it's really like? Because so far it's been very fun with the Doctor. We've been travelling back in time, seeing different ages, meeting different people, having some fun, saving the world a couple of times in the process, and it's all been great. But Chris Chibnall himself has said at the end of Spyfall Part 2, the gang is very upbeat, they're having a lot of fun. Of course, the Doctor wasn't, because she had that reveal about Gallifrey. But the gang was having a lot of fun. And then when we leave them at the end of season 12, it's going to be very different. So I'm starting to worry about who's going to be left behind at the end of season 12. Who's going to be still on the Team TARDIS going into season 13. So that'd be interesting to see. And I'll be interested to see a lot more of this dark Doctor character that we've been seeing. And we've seen it before. David Tennant got very dark towards the end. Even Matt Smith got dark once he lost Amy. Peter Capaldi was dark underneath throughout his entire run, practically. And we're starting to see Jodie Whittaker, and it's very, very good. Jodie Whittaker is starting to show her acting chops here, rather than just being a plot device. She's actually starting, and I know obviously it's not her fault, but she's starting to show, the writing is starting to allow her to open up and show more of her acting skills. And I'm liking it. I just wish they wouldn't rely so much on the Sonic. There was no woke message that I could discern from this episode. Let me know if there was one that you could find. But they got rid of the wokeness for at least this one episode. This episode sort of served as a precursor to the final closing two-part. It was almost like Utopia was to the Sound of the Drums, and the Tens season finale in season 3. So I was very impressed by this episode. It was one of the highlights of the season. The villain was very villainous. The Doctor was very layered. You know, there were some comedic moments in there as well. And it's always good when you have a dark episode like The Haunting of Villa Diodati. It's good to have some comedic elements. It's good to have some characters that make you laugh. The supporting cast were overall very good. We had a dramatic a dramatic character who sleepwalks, so has difficulty sleeping, who actively challenges Ryan to a duel. And then Graham has some funny moments. Graham tends to be sort of comic relief in these episodes. We have, Yaz has a little chat with a lady about love and about feelings and emotions, and Yaz is getting more layered as we go on. And it would be very, very sad to see Yaz leave now at the end of season 12, because we're just getting into her character. So far, she's just stood around and gawped, and we are just getting into her complexity of a character. Brian, I could probably lose Brian. Brian doesn't seem to do much except state the obvious. Graham, I would hate to lose because I think he's a funny character. He brings the comic relief, but arguably, if season 13 is going to be a lot darker than seasons 11 and 12, Graham may very well end up written out just for that cause alone. So thanks for watching. Let me know who you think is going to go. Let me know what character you can see leaving at the end of season 12. Let me know what you thought of this episode, the series so far as a whole, and I'll see you in the next one.